today's video we're going to do the final and official GavsWeatherVids.com autumn 2013 forecast today. I've done 2 updates so far, one in June and one in July. The last one in July pointed towards, well, it was a bit of a mixed signal, but towards probably a wetter than average autumn and near normal temperatures. We'll see whether that is sustained for the final forecast, and see whether the models are still going for that, or whether they've gone to another idea. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's green keyword ads on our pages at GavsWeatherVids.com. Rolling your cursor over green keywords will display ads, but if you click through the word, that's the key, click through the word, and you'll go to the advertiser's website. You'll be supporting GavsWeatherVids.com. By doing that, also want to mention Roger J. Smith, my new long-range forecaster that's just started at GavsWeatherVids. Go to Roger's page and see what he's predicting. He's got a little snippet about the coming winter on today's page, so you can find Roger's page by going to the drop-down menu either through long-range or through written forecast. Select Roger J. Smith, you can go to his page and you'll be able to see what's going on and find out who Roger J. Smith is. I rate him very highly, and I think he's going to be a great addition to GavsWeatherVids. So we're going to start off first of all with the models that we break down into monthly periods, and then we'll go on to the seasonal anomaly, because we've got some models here that are broken down into monthly periods, September, October, November, and then we've got some that do the anomaly for the 3 monthly seasonal period. It'll all become clear as we go along. So let's start with the JMA first of all. These are 500 millibar heights here, and this is for September 2013 first of all. And the first thing that's quite obvious is that the British Isles is up here. Actually, I think I'll just quickly change the colour, because you'll be able to see pink a little bit better. So, yep, the British Isles is just here in this top right hand corner, and we're in these yellow colours. That's an area of above average heights for September, which extrapolates to high pressure. Now that means that temperatures from the model are being forecast to be near normal, or in those beige colours, so near normal to slightly above average is the forecast. Actually, I would increase that to probably quite well above average. I think we ought to be in the yellow colours really. With that under an area of high pressure in September, it's bound to be quite warm, although the high pressure is centred more out to the west, so we may be pulling around east or northeasterly winds at times, so they're not particularly warm. And for precipitation, the rainfall, that is showing that we're at near normal again for September. So an average sort of September with a signal for high pressure to be dominating. That's the signal for September from the JMA model. For October, let's have a quick look at the October signal, and this is it again. Look at the 500 millibar heights, and quite interesting, bit of a change around for October. We're in those blue colours there around British Isles, indicating that we're in below average heights by then, so an unsettled October being signal. The high pressure is out in the Atlantic, and the jet stream, interestingly, is going to the south, so a relatively cool and unsettled month would be probable with that. The temperature's showing that, if anything, we are favouring cooler than average for October. It's not surprised with the jet stream tracking to the south of the country. And for the rainfall, it's going for near normal, but I think with that sort of height anomaly and the jet stream to the south, we would be expecting that we'd have actually above average rainfall. And then for November, finally, and the November anomaly, look at this, we get a big area of above average height sitting just to the west of the country. So high pressure very much dominating out in the Atlantic. It means that the temperatures are actually coming out a little bit below average in the north, a little bit or around the average further south, but I'm not sure about that. I think that is wrong, and actually I would be expecting that we get to probably above average temperatures and below average rainfall. With that anomaly, quite a mild November will be on the cards, I think, with that one. Having a look at the South Korean model next, and these again are broken down into months, so we'll start off with September. It's going for low pressure to be to the north of the country and out in the Atlantic. We've got a ridge of high pressure weekly sitting to the south. That again is quite an unsettled or I shouldn't say again, but it is quite an unsettled signal for September. Now for October, this is very interesting what the Korean model is going for in October, because it's in an area of high pressure to develop to the east of the country and low pressure to be to the west. So that means that we're bringing up southerly or southeasterly winds with that. That could be, it could be, emphasize the word could, a signal for an Indian summer in October. A very warm month would be possible with that sea level pressure distribution. And then finally for November, we go back to low pressure in a deep area of low pressure around the British Isles. Then the high pressure is out in the Atlantic, and the jet stream is coming around, something like that. So it would be coolish and really quite unsettled and wet, I think, for November, if that's right. So a real mixed sort of autumn there from both the JMA and the Korean model, both going for months that have very big swings from month to month. Really would be quite interesting autumn indeed. The 700 millibar height anomalies from the CFS model next, and we see that for September we've got a below average area of height sitting around the British Isles. I must say I'm not convinced by these forecasts. The South Korean model and the CFS going for this low pressure to be seen sitting around British Isles, high pressure out in the mid-Atlantic. It looks as though at the very least we're going to start under high pressure for September, and that could extend on quite some time, so I'm really not convinced. But between the Korean model and CFS, you have to say there is reasonable consistency about this. Have a trough over the country for September, but I'm a bit doubtful about it, to be honest. Now, as we go through to October, this is quite interesting, because the height anomaly, again, is suggesting that heights are going to build in from the east there across the country into the British Isles. Now, we don't have the trough in the Atlantic, but assuming we did get a trough of that low pressure sitting in the Atlantic, you've got a low there with the high there, again we could be bringing up southerly or southeasterly winds. So very similar to what we were seeing with the Korean model. We could be seeing a signal there for a warm, dry Indian type summer pattern as we go through into October. And then for November, the trough comes back. It is very similar actually to September. The trough very much re-emerging through the course of November. Would be an unsettled and wet sort of month were that to occur. So again, the CFS model is suggesting that we see big swings from month to month through the course of this autumn. No particular pattern is dominating this. We've got low pressure in September, we've got high pressure in October, we've got low pressure again in November. The overall height anomaly for the autumn comes out like this, with a mean trough just to the north of British Isles, low pressure sitting just to the north, and the high pressure is out in the Atlantic. So overall the CFS model is favouring quite an unsettled autumn. That's not surprising, because it's seeing a trough for September and for November, with the ridge more possible or more likely in October. But as I say, I'm not convinced by these models that are showing troughiness for September. Certainly not for the first week to 10 days of September anyway. The temperatures for the autumn come out from the CFS model near normal, but we've explained this before, talked about this before, that very often these temperature and precipitation anomalies are coming out with weak signals from the CFS model, and the reason is that it's struggling to get the pattern. But nevertheless, for precipitation, the idea is stronger, and got to quite a wet sort of season being predicted for France, and with the trough around the British Isles, you would expect it to be wet really across many parts of the country. So, excuse me, bear the models that break the autumn down into monthly periods, and they're all going for quite a sort of mishmash of different possibilities from month to month. Very interesting autumn would be on the cards if these models are right. Now the rest of the models we look at are going to be looking at the autumn as a whole, so September, October, November anomalies. We've finished with the models that break the autumn down into monthly periods. We're going to start off with the Russian model. This is probability for the autumn, and we're in the red colours there, quite obviously and strikingly. We've got red colours across the country. That is indicating above average temperature for the autumn. It's going for a warm, the probability of a warm autumn for the British Isles. For precipitation, for rainfall, we're in the orange colours there, quite interesting. That's going for above average rainfall through the autumn. So warm and wet is the signal really from the south, from the Russian model. As we go through next, we go through to the Brazilian model. These are 500 millibar heights. For the autumn, September to November. A little bit different with this, as you know. This orange area up here is actually below average heights, low pressure, and the blue area is actually high pressure out in the Atlantic. Always a little bit different with this model. On a normal height anomaly, this area would be low pressure and this area would be high pressure, or the colours anyway would be high pressure up to the northeast and low pressure in the Atlantic, but this one is always a bit different. Anyway, it's high pressure in the Atlantic, low pressure up to the northeast, and the jet stream is coming through something like that. So it's an average sort of autumn signal value, though it could be on the coolest side really, because that trough over Scandinavia, you will probably be expecting winds of the air to be coming from a northerly direction quite frequently, although with the high pressure where it is again, you will also get westerlies and southwesterlies. So overall, I think a near normal sort of signal there. Probably more settled in the east and drier down to the southwest. The next model that I want to look at is the Bayesian Climate Centre. Again, these are height anomalies, and this is a traditional height anomaly chart with the orange colours displaying above average heights, or reflecting above average heights. That's high pressure, and the blue colours reflecting below average heights, which is low pressure. So for the anomaly, in terms of 500 millibar heights for the autumn, we're looking at low pressure to be out in the Atlantic and high pressure to be ridging in through the country from the west and the northwest, and a trough of low pressure out to the northeast. That's quite a dry signal for the autumn. That will be a drier than average autumn, most definitely, I think, for most parts of the British Isles. The temperatures actually come out near normal. This is where we are on the map, right over here in the corner. So, yeah, the temperatures coming out near normal, maybe slightly above average, but near normal, really. Notice it's quite cool for central eastern parts of Europe. The reason that's happening is that we've got a trough over to the east. That's a cold trough, but we're under that ridge, so near normal temperatures would start off quite warm in the early part of the autumn. As we go through to the latter part of the autumn, if it was to persist into November, it will get quite cold with a lot of frost. And no surprise in the rainfall is coming out drier than average. Yeah, we're definitely in a drier than average sort of pattern there. Not surprising with that ridge of high pressure. So dry and near normal is the signal from the Bayesian Climate Centre for the autumn. But you notice there's no real consistency emerging with this, no real pattern emerge here. Very much a case of individual models going for individual scenarios, so it's very hard this autumn to pin down. Next model is going to be the Jamstec IOD model, and we're just here on this map. We're in the blue colours, as is much of Central and Western Europe, with colder than average. The Jamstec is going for a colder than average autumn there. I've been checking this. There's been eight forecasts from the Jamstec model for the autumn, and just 2 of them have been for above average temperatures. The other 6 have been indicating below average temperatures. In some cases very substantially below average. This is quite substantially below average. I think we're up to at least 1 degree below average there for much of England, and certainly up to 1 degree below average for France. That's very good consistency for Jamstec. I've got to say that it's very consistent. 6 going for cold out of the 8 updates, 2 going for warmer than average. Very consistent signal over the past 8 months. For precipitation, it's going for a drier than average autumn there. And the reason is that I've got high pressure up to the northwest, so that's why it's cooler than average, because you'll be getting winds coming from a north or northeasterly direction quite light. It's also got drier than average conditions around the British Isles, so that's very much high pressure dominating, but it's in a similar situation actually, that area. It's a similar kind of area that the Bayesian Climate Centre have the above average heights extending down from that sort of direction. So that's very similar really between the Bayesian Climate Centre and the Jamstec IOD model. Of course they differ slightly in the temperature forecast, because the Bayesian Climate Centre is going for near normal temperatures, whereas Jamstec very obviously going for cooler than average temperatures. And then finally, we're at the end now, we're going to have a look at the Met Office, our own UK Met Office sea level pressure prediction for the autumn, and the idea here is that we've got below average pressure sitting up to the northeast and to the east of the country, above average pressure out in the Atlantic. Jet stream will be coming through something like that, so actually that's very similar to what we were just looking at with the Brazilian model in terms of the pressure distribution. Very, very similar indeed. We're just about on the coolest side of the jet, and always will be more unsettled in the east and the northeast. The temperature signal for the autumn is near normal. Yeah, the Met Office model is going for average temperatures there for the British Isles. And in terms of precipitation, actually come a little bit above average, only very slightly above average, but nevertheless, rainfall does come out a little bit above average there. And again, the reason that's happening, the jet stream is coming through something like that, so it's very often over us. And it's slightly wetter than average with near normal temperatures. So, very interesting models there. We've got to try and come to a forecast about all this now. And it's very difficult, this. It's a hard one to call because there's a lot of scatter within those models, and the models that are broken down into monthly periods are giving the game away, I think, because they're very changeable from month to month, so there's no particular pattern dominating this through the 3 monthly period, and that's why the models that to just cover the 3 monthly period, the 3 monthly anomalies, are kind of patchy. It's that because individual months, I think, are producing very different outcomes. So, really hard to call. I think we've lost the signal that we had last month for a wetter than average autumn. I'm not sure that's really there, although it could be unsettled, very unsettled at times, maybe particularly focused around November. But overall, I'm going to say that temperatures are going to come out a little bit above average. Now, that's caveated with Pajamas Tech, because Pajamas Tech has been very, very consistent with its idea. It's been very consistent with its idea that we're going to have a cold than average autumn. 6 going cold over the last 8 months, just 2 going for warmer than average. But nevertheless, I'm going to go against that, and I'm going to say that after the hot summer, we're probably going to overall for the autumn. And I would suspect early on it's probably warmer than it is later on. As we get to November, it could get quite cold, but I think September could be potentially quite a bit above average, and that may extend into October as well. For precipitation, hard to judge it really, but maybe favouring average precipitation, to be honest, and maybe again wetter later on and drier earlier on. But it's a really hard autumn to call this one. Last autumn was much clearer. It was very obvious what's going to happen last autumn. This one's really difficult, but the final analysis, I've got to go for something, and I'm going to say a little bit warmer than average this autumn, and precipitation rainfall coming out near normal, but it will disguise the fact that many of the months through the autumn will have a lot of variation. The pattern will be swinging around quite wildly from month to month, and no particular scenario is going to dominate the autumn. I don't think we're going to have some big contrasts. A very, very interesting autumn, actually, potentially, with a little bit of everything thrown in. I think, but the kitchen sink. Now, I just want to very quickly give a sneak peek at the winter. We're going to go on and have a look at the sea level pressure anomaly for November, December and January from the UK Met Office. And look at this. This is very interesting, isn't it? We've got a big area of orange sitting up there to the north of Scotland, around Iceland, extending into Scandinavia. The green colours are away to the south. That's low pressure. That means the jet stream is tracking on a southerly track there. That's a cold signal. It's a cold signal from the Met Office model for November, December and January. And of course, next month, September, we're going to be going on a downhill spiral into winter at Gaz Weather. We're going to start doing all of the winter forecasts. It'll all start coming together. We'll have a look at the sea ice, the snow cover over Siberia. All of that will start up next month, as will the seasonal model. Excuse me, look aheads for the winter as well. It's all going to start happening at Gaz Weather in September, and that's just a bit of a sneak peek what the UK Met Office is predicting. Very interesting sea level pressure anomaly that for November to January. But finally, coming back to the autumn, the GazWeather.com autumn forecast with low confidence is for slightly above average temperatures and near normal precipitation, near normal rainfall. That's it for now. I know it's been a long video. Thanks for sticking with it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.